This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network.
Welcome to the Anxious Voyage. If you think that title sounds bleak or foreboding, one of two things must be true. You're very lucky, or you need to get out more. On this program, we share stories of life and living. We compare notes. We discover commonalities. We accept that life is a glorious, heartbreaking thing, and we embrace and celebrate all of it. Take the ride with us. We're glad you're here. Now, here's your host, Mark O'Brien.
Hello, welcome indeed. We are coming to you today again, and as always, from World Headquarters in Middletown, Connecticut, which, as some of you actually may know, will host this weekend's naked paddleboard races on scenic Rowan's Pond, which, if you're familiar with that, you also know is right next to Hank's Scrap Metal. So it's always a scenic spot, and the water's always in really good shape. At any rate, I am very, very happy to introduce to you today my guest, Kevin Hinchey. Kevin and I have been friends for, I'm going to say 30 years, but if I do, that'll mean we're old, so I'm not going to say that. But I'm very delighted to have you here today, Kevin. Thank you very much. And I will also tell folks that you came here directly from the film class that you taught this morning. So thank you for being here.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you. It's great to see you again. Thank you.
Thank you. And I'm just going to tell folks who are viewing or listening that there was a couple of things that you were not terribly comfortable with my sharing, but I am going to share one thing, and that is, and I know you know this, you and I are in the Guinness Book for the longest conversation on record without saying anything of substance or meaning.
It's a record I'm very proud of.
Oh my God, it just touches my heart.
Yeah, I'm sure it does. Yes.
So if you don't mind, would you please share what the class was that you were teaching this morning? And I know you have some others coming up in the fall. So start wherever you like, but please tell us some more about those.
Yeah, I've been for about 18 years, I believe. I've been teaching part-time over at Manchester Community College, a basic film appreciation class. Film study and appreciation is what it's called. It's not a class in filmmaking or anything like that. And so I lecture about films. We watch films. And I was fortunate when they hired me because there are several professors there who teach basic film study and appreciation, but we all teach it differently.
Not bad.
And so the gentleman who hired me, since retired, pretty much handed the ball off to me and said, just do what you want with the course. You got to use this textbook, which I no longer use, and ask me some more questions because it really is a very general course that most students will take as their art elective, or someone if they're a communications major, maybe taking it as a requirement.
I certainly am going to ask you more questions, but I also want to back up a little bit to tell folks who are tuning in that you have a master's degree in film from NYU.
Yeah.
So considering the fact that your course or courses don't actually include film making, it makes me curious, and I can't believe I've never asked you this before. In the program that you took at NYU, how much history was involved, meaning the history of filmmaking?
Very little. I would say that in terms of the history of film, the film industry, I'm pretty much self-taught as far as that goes. But there was very little in NYU is a filmmaking program.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to guess that a person who didn't love movies probably wouldn't be interested in getting a master's degree in film from NYU or anywhere else. Any idea what prompted your love of movies as a young person?
It's a really good question, Mark. And I'll tell you how it happened, but I'm not sure it's really going to be answering your question.
Give it a shot.
Okay. My best friend Rob and I, were probably in 5th grade, went down. This was in Glastonbury, South Glastonbury. The mother of a guy we knew in school had just opened a small used bookstore called the Book Nook, which is a name that so many used bookstores use.
Yeah.
And so we went down there because we thought it was pretty neat that the mother of a friend of ours opened this used bookstore. We never been to anything like that before. And on the shelves, we found 2 copies of one of the early books, pre-Leonard Maltin, that rated TV movies.
Oh, wow.
Told you something about TV movies, the stars, the director, and 1 to 4 stars. And these were used books. Rob and I each took one out, and I became a discriminating movie viewer when I was in 5th grade, always looking for the 4-star movies if they came on TV. If I was watching a piece of crap 1-star movie, that's because I wanted to watch a crap 1-star movie, and I knew it was bad. And my parents saw me always reading this book, watching movies, and they started getting me the newer editions as they came out.
Oh,
And
wow.
the guy's name was something like Steve Shower or something. And maybe he sold the operation to Leonard Maltin. I don't know. But that's how it really started. But it doesn't really answer your question, like why?
No, actually it does.
Yeah? Maybe you could explain it to me.
Well, I'll give you an anecdote.
Okay.
And
Yep.
I actually don't know if you and I have ever talked about this before, but I can remember one time seeing in TV Guide, and I can tell you that it was 1983. Somebody made a movie for HBO that starred Laurence Olivier and Jackie Gleason. And it was called Mr. Halpern and Mr. Johnson. And the reason that I made it my business to watch that film is because whoever reviewed it in TV Guide said, if for no other reason,
Wow.
watch this movie to watch Gleason act the pants off of Olivier.
Wow.
And believe it or not, I have Mr. Halpern and Mr. Johnson as an MP4 file on my computer.
I've heard, it vaguely sounds familiar. I have not seen it. I would remember that because I'm actually a big fan of some of Gleason's film work.
Oh, yeah.
Because he really could be a good actor. And the fact that you're telling me that someone said he acted the pants off of Olivier, that's worth seeing.
And I'll just tell you this too, while the settings change, the movie is essentially one long conversation between the two of them. And it begins at the funeral of Olivier's wife.
Okay.
And everybody else leaves the cemetery. Olivier's still standing there. and the camera moves to show Gleason absolutely dressed to the nines.
Wow.
And holding one white rose. So he comes up to Olivier and he says, "May I?" And then he drops the rose into the grave, and that's where it begins.
Wow.
So
very intriguing.
Given the chance that you might see it, even if we watch it on my computer, I won't tell you any more than that.
Okay. Yeah.
And I'll also tell you this, before we started recording here today, you and I, for different reasons, were talking about Frankenstein.
Yes. Yes.
But I think one of my own interests in films, although it's nowhere near as deep or sophisticated as yours is, the original Frankenstein movie came out in 1931. So that would have made me about 12 or 13 years old at that time. So I became so fascinated with it that I subscribed to a magazine called Famous Monsters of Filmland.
Yes, Famous Monsters of Filmland. Yeah.
Because I wanted to know more than anything.
Wow.
How Jack Pierce had done that makeup.
Wow. I did not subscribe to that magazine, but I had many copies.
Yeah.
And I became rather knowledgeable at a young age about Jack Pierce.
Yeah.
You know, a makeup guy. Wow. What was the name? It's sort of a famous guy who edited that magazine, right?
Honestly, I don't remember.
Yeah, I'll look it up later.
Yeah.
But that was the magazine to go to in terms of beefing up your knowledge about those kinds of films.
Yeah, and if I had been capable of following instructions, which I'm still not, over a sequence of those issues of that magazine, the details of how Jack Pierce constructed Karloff's makeup were provided. And so, A, I wasn't able to follow directions, and B, I couldn't convince my brother Keith to let me make him up like Frankenstein's monster.
Yeah, to sit there for 6 hours as you made him up. Yeah.
Yeah. I told him I'd bring him water, but he just wouldn't go for it.
That's very interesting. And by the way, and I don't know too much about this, there were several silent versions of Frankenstein before the 1931 one, which is the most famous one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know that I've ever seen any of the silent versions. For some reason, I was just never a big silent film buff.
Yeah. Well, that perfectly understandable. Although there's a lot of great silent movies, there's so many other things to watch.
It probably in our second segment, we're going to come back to that a little bit, but I do want to go back to your courses.
Yes.
And when you're selecting films to cover in your courses, two questions actually. Do you do the same films every time you teach the courses? And is there any necessary order to them, be it chronological or anything else?
And these are all questions that I've asked myself while I was doing it, and then looking back. I don't show them in a chronological order for this reason. These are 1 semester courses. If I was teaching a 2-semester course, it would be designed entirely differently, probably chronologically. Might even have a silent movie. I don't know. And so there is no chronology to them. I've chosen all the films, as I tell the class, all the films that you will watch in this class, I've chosen because I think they're learning tools, good learning tools for the basic content of the course. And when I think they've stopped being good learning tools for whatever reason, that they're just not doing it for the students, I will replace them. But in answer to your question, the films are basically the same in most of the courses I teach, which, are all film study and appreciation. But sometimes, for example, in the course I teach down at Middlesex Community College, right here in Middletown,
Is Middlesex Community College, is that anywhere near Hank's scrapyard?
It's on the other side of the pond, I believe.
Okay, I just want to know if I come sit in your course, if I
Yeah.
can look out the window and see the naked paddleboard races.
You from my classroom, you should be able to.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Thank you. Sorry to interrupt.
No. It's a key question. And so they're learning tools, and but the ones at Middlesex, I'm also asked, because it's part of their mission statement, I guess you would say, to show some films that show other cultures. In other words, show a couple of foreign films, which I do, and that's been very interesting. But and interestingly, I don't know if I were to rattle off the names of the films, if there's some underlying reason that I don't even know about, that there's some commonality to all the films. But I think there is, even though I never thought of it that way.
I actually think it makes it more powerful that there probably is, and that you're not fully conscious of it.
Yes, yeah, I agree. I agree.
So I actually have a number of questions. What should, no, I'll put it a different way. What do you hope that, you said you'll change films if they're not working for the students. What do you hope the students will take from your classes?
The basic core content that I'd like them to know, in the first class, the first lecture they have to read, I want them to walk away at least with some sense of the history of the film business. We get that out of the way very quickly, just so they know it. They have access to it. They can read my lecture. They can reread it, history. And then the other core content really is this. I want them to walk away with an appreciation that all films are the journeys of their major characters and maybe some of the minor characters. So it's film is journey. And I always say to the students, think of what some of your favorite films are. And even though you're not using the same vocabulary as I'm using, probably your favorite films have something to do with how the characters' journeys resonate for you. Now, you may not have that vocabulary, but that's probably why you really like those particular films. I want them to appreciate also, secondly, that there is an inherent three-act structure to every film, to every screenplay, really to all storytelling, beginning, middle, and an end, although it's different vocabulary for films. And it's what I call an invisible three-act structure, but it's there. And you need to set up plot and character within a reasonable amount of time, like 20 to 25 minutes of the film. is your act one, your setup, your beginning. And then the next hour may be, well, what we would call the middle. In film, we call it the rising action. And that's where all the plot and character that was set up in act one, now things start to get more involved, more complicated. And then there's a third act, the end, where things resolve in some way. So I want them to recognize the 3-act structure. But the main content are the film components. And I break it down into about 7 film components. And I say, it's through these components will act like a prism for you. You understand these components. It's really the components, understanding what the components are and how the filmmakers use them. This is how you're really going to start to appreciate film in a whole different way. But in a general sense, all of that being said, I really want people to walk away with an appreciation of all the possibilities of film, all the possibilities. And I think it's important that they know some of this stuff, because unlike our generation, Mark, I would say anyone born, into the digital age has grown up surrounded, saturated, inundated. I mean, you pick your word there, with moving, talking, photographic images telling stories. They're surrounded with this stuff. It's on their computers, their TVs, their theater screens. It's in the palm of their hands now. And I think they should understand that. I think they should understand it aesthetically, historically, culturally, like that.
Wow, yeah. That's a tall order, but it actually tees up the next segment beautifully. So at this point, we are going to take our first commercial break. We will be back with you in three minutes. Please stay with us.
Everybody has a story. Everyone's story deserves to be told, and the only bad stories are the ones we don't share. That's why Mark O'Brien created The Anxious Voyage. It's Mark's conviction that every story deserves to be shared, and his purpose is to give people in all walks of life from any circumstances a chance to tell their stories. The Anxious Voyage is now on syndicated Dream Vision 7 radio network every Monday at 1 a.m. and 1 p.m. Eastern Time, with live broadcast every first and third Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Please tune in, please join Mark, and please share your stories.
Ever wonder what it's like to have your own radio show? Well, wonder no longer, because you can dip into the radio airwaves by being host for the day on syndicated Dream Vision 7 radio network. It's a fabulous way to get your radio feet wet. It's an opportunity to market your business, modality, or book. Have a guest, mention a sponsor, and take callers. Or you may want to facilitate a lesson by going solo. It's up to you. Listeners can be online, mobile, in cars with Bluetooth, or listen through Amazon's Echo by asking, Alexa, play Dream Vision 7 Radio Network. For more details, go to dreamvision7radio.com and click on Host for the Day.
You can't establish your brand's authority without a voice. That's why, since 2004, O'Brien Communications Group, OCG, has been helping companies establish their authority, find their brands, distinct voices, and position their brands effectively and persuasively. So effectively that 9 of OCG's clients have been acquired by other companies. OCG's business model emphasizes efficiency and results, not hourly billing, markups, and media commissions. That ensures OCG's advice is unbiased and its clients aren't at financial risk. If you're ready to find your voice and use it to tell your story, OCG is ready to help. You can find O'Brien Communications Group on the web at o'briencg.com. That's OBRIENCG.com or call 860-944-9022.
Calling all authors. Have you been considering an audiobook? Well, look no further. Come take advantage of Dream Vision 7 Radio Network's unique in-house audiobook production, which includes benefits and bonuses from our radio station. Let our knowledgeable staff guide you to create the audiobook you've always dreamed of without breaking the bank. Check out our full one-stop service from A to Z, including the ACX process. Schedule a free consultation by calling 508-226-1723. That's 508-226-1723. Or go to dreamvision7radio.com.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for staying with us. Kevin, I was taking a bunch of notes and had all kinds of stuff running through my head, given what you were saying in the first segment. I recall in an earlier conversation we had that depending on what program students might be in, one of the prerequisites for your course was a composition course, a writing composition course. So when you said earlier that you try to impart to your students that the characters in a film are on a journey.
Yeah.
Do any of your students, especially those who may have taken composition before they take your course, do any of them connect the dots to the notion that it might also be, a film might also reflect the journey of the filmmaker or the film writer? Does that level or that layer ever come up?
No, it's a very good point. I don't really talk about that, and maybe I should, because just hearing you say what you said, all kinds of names just sort of fluttered through my mind of screenwriters or directors whose lives turned out to be some really interesting journeys, and much of it reflected in their work. It's a good point, but no, I've never had anyone bring that up. They connect rather quickly with the idea of the film character's journey. That isn't anything that they have a hard time responding to, and whether they're writing a paper or they're writing some discussion board posts where they have to share ideas with each other, or the midterm and final, which are all essays, for which they have a huge amount of choice. The idea of film as character journey is something that most of them pick up fairly quickly. But what you asked is very intriguing. The journey of the filmmaker, whether that be the director, the producer, or the screenwriter. Yeah, if you want to ask me more about that. That's a fascinating subject.
Well, I may come back to that, but I want to make sure that I can get in the stuff that you've prompted me to think about.
I'm glad you asked about that, Mark. Thank you.
Okay, well, you're welcome. And if we don't get to pursue it more in this conversation, we'll just do another one.
Good.
So there's two things that I see as connected. One is the earlier comment you made about the fact that some films may or may not continue to resonate with your students. And the other is what you said right at the end of the last segment about how, and I'm going to say as a result of technology, we're all now, especially younger people, bombarded with moving imagery. So what I wanted to try to do is connect what you said when you were talking about the journey. You wanted your students to understand film as journey.
Yeah.
And you said you wanted them to be able to understand the possibilities of filmmaking. And I know very early in this conversation, you said you don't cover the technical aspects of filmmaking. But especially considering the fact that we continue to get older, but your students are always of what, 18, 19 years old, something like that?
That's right. That's right.
Do you find anywhere the notion of possibilities and technology, I don't know, connecting, overlapping, being immaterial to each other? I don't know.
The simple answer is yes. Yes, I do. And here's an anecdote here. I have a former student of mine from probably 2 semesters ago here in town at Middlesex. And he would always stay after class. We would talk film. He knew a lot about film. And I told the students, listen, I'm an encyclopedia about film. You want to talk about films beyond this class, I'm happy to do it. And I did that with Dan, and he would drop by the following semester just to say hi. Occasionally we had coffee together. I was having coffee with him, by the way, when a lovely woman across the aisle looked at me and said, "Are you Kevin Hinchey?" And that was your wife, Ann.
Yeah, she called me right away.
Yep. And I was having a coffee with this former student, and he said something very interesting in one of our many conversations. He said, now remember, this is someone who's in his early 20s, smart guy. And he said, I can't believe that people of your age, your generation, had to leave the house to go out and get videos and then DVDs and pay money to do that and then come home and watch these things. He had never had that experience. All he knew was streaming, and all these things. And I said, yeah. I said, the technology is just amazing. And so those are the kinds of students I'm teaching who don't really have any memory of how we used to watch films. If we wanted to watch them at home or anything like that. The technology, and when I go through the history of film, one of the many themes that are woven throughout these lectures, and I start with photography 200 years ago. So this written lecture is basically going over 200 years, starting with photography. And I talk a fair amount about how technology has changed and driven the industry or the art form or whatever you want to call it. And the students are fascinated by that. They get it. And among the two major technologies that have transformed the industry several decades ago, for both of them, are the coming of sound to movies. Well, I should really say, I should really go back a little and say, working with photographic images and getting them to move. Getting them to move. That transition from still photography to motion pictures, movies, moving pictures. The word movies comes from the phrase moving pictures. And all of that was being experimented with around the 1870s. And then silent movies make the change to sound movies in the late 1920s. So the switch over from silent to sound is a huge, huge technologically driven change. And then you go up a few decades and the invention of television, which comes into the homes in a major way after World War II, is another technology-driven change. But we're into something right now, and no one really knows where this is going, because digital, streaming, all of these things, we've never been here before in history. And no one knows what the business models are going to look like for TV and film in the future. Right now, they don't know. Now, the major change, though, that I see today from earlier is when sound came to movies, everyone was not embracing it. You had a lot of people who thought it was a fad. Oh, this will go away. This will go away. Well, it didn't go away. The same with television. Television comes in, and a lot of people in film said, nah, this isn't going to go over big. No one's going to want to watch this stuff on a small screen. And you had a lot of on-camera talent, actors, actresses, who looked down their noses at TV for a while. Today, I don't really see people poo-pooing any technological possibility today, because you just never know. You never know where it's going to come from. And that's a major change. That's a major change that everyone is exploring all the possibilities now, technologically. Now, the beneficiaries of, I would not want to be an executive in the film and TV business now. It's got to be so nerve-wracking. But the beneficiaries of everything now are us, the viewers. Like you said earlier, just all the material that we have access to all the time. But no one knows where this is going. It's fascinating and a little frightening, I think.
It is frightening, but I have to tell you, it's oddly hopeful to me. And what I mean by that is, I firmly believe, it's tough to see sometimes, but I firmly believe that everything is cyclical. And because you said this at the beginning too, you're relating what you're teaching and what goes on in film, generally film, to storytelling. It gives me hope that we will get back around to a point at which the knowledge that we can tell our stories in various media will prevail. And you might, this is going to be a tall order, but you might actually find that you spark the interest of young people to go back and re-examine how things were done before. I don't know if that's possible. Obviously, I would paraphrase what you've been saying for the past few minutes as we just have to live with uncertainty. Right now, we don't have a choice because we have no idea where anything's headed. But that at least strikes me as a possibility.
I think that's going on. I think that is going on right now, Mark. All the different possibilities of storytelling, and you still have theaters showing movies on the big screen. And if there's nothing there to your liking, then you can sit home and pick something out from the tens and thousands of movies that are streaming.
Yeah.
I mean, we truly are the beneficiaries of this uncertainty.
More times than not, if Ann and I sit down to watch something streaming, it's probably going to be from the 40s or the 50s.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. I'm sorry I have to do this, but let's take our second break right now.
Yeah.
And I want to try to tie up a bunch of things when we come back. So please stay with us. We'll be back in 3 minutes.
Are you ready for the quantum age?
Humanity's next step in evolution?
Dream Vision 7 Radio Network invites you to the extraordinary platform of evolutionary voices for the quantum age.
Let's explore. Learn more about this upcoming age where we bridge science with spirituality,
Where potentiality meets reality.
where we take compassion into action.
Our trailblazers and visionaries will ask the whys, the what ifs, while igniting continuous possibility.
Come along with us into an age beyond what we know today, where we can grow together in unity consciousness.
Experience evolutionary voices for the quantum age, Monday through Friday at 8 a.m. and 8 p.m. Eastern on DreamVision7Radio.com.
You can't establish your brand's authority without a voice. That's why, since 2004, O'Brien Communications Group, OCG, has been helping companies establish their authority, find their brands, distinct voices, and position their brands effectively and persuasively. So effectively that 9 of OCG's clients have been acquired by other companies. OCG's business model emphasizes efficiency and results, not hourly billing, markups, and media commissions. That ensures OCG's advice is unbiased and its clients aren't at financial risk. If you're ready to find your voice and use it to tell your story, OCG is ready to help. You can find O'Brien Communications Group on the web at o'briencg.com. That's OBRIENCG.com, or call 860-944-9022.
Calling all authors. Have you been considering an audiobook? Well, look no further. Come take advantage of Dream Vision 7 Radio Network's unique in-house audiobook production, which includes benefits and bonuses from our radio station. Let our knowledgeable staff guide you to create the audiobook you've always dreamed of without breaking the bank. Check out our full one-stop service from A to Z, including the ACX process. Schedule a free consultation by calling 508-226-1723. That's 508-226-1723. Or go to DreamVision7Radio.com.
Everybody has a story. Everyone's story deserves to be told, and the only bad stories are the ones we don't share. That's why Mark O'Brien created The Anxious Voyage. It's Mark's conviction that every story deserves to be shared, and his purpose is to give people in all walks of life from any circumstances a chance to tell their stories. The Anxious Voyage is now on syndicated Dream Vision 7 Radio Network every Monday at 1 a.m. and 1 p.m. Eastern Time, with live broadcast every first and third Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern. Please tune in, please join Mark, and please share your stories.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.
Welcome back, everyone. Thank you for staying with us. Wow, Kevin, there's just so much stuff I would really love to be able to cover in this last segment. I don't know if we'll get to it all. One of the things I thought you were going to say in the second segment when we were talking about technology was the advent of color film and what, if anything, you think that might have changed. And so I want to tell you, and I may have shared this with you before, but I used to think that people shot in black and white because color film hadn't been invented yet. So two things. The first time I think I ever saw, believe this or not, for all of the time, all of the holiday seasons in which It's a Wonderful Life is ubiquitous, I had never seen it until I went and saw it on the big screen at Cinestudio at Trinity College.
I remember you
When
telling
I
me.
was watching that film on the big screen, I suddenly understood black and white movie making.
Wow.
Because
Wow.
what Frank Capra did with light and shadow and all that stuff, everything just dawned on me. So I'm going to share this too. It's another cat that I'm going to let out of the bag. And that is that you and I are enormous Three Stooges fans. And I have to say that I have attempted to watch colorized versions of their shorts. They don't work. They just don't work.
Wow.
So if I could, I just want to try to bridge silent and sound film here. And I don't know if this is going to work, but I have to admit that because I was not a fan of silent films, I've never watched any of the classic films of the silent era comedians like Charlie Chaplin and Buster Keaton and Harold Lloyd.
Oh.
Never.
Wow.
And yet, I'm a huge fan of the Stooges. And I think I shared with you once, and I'll tell you how I came to this realization. I would put, as insignificant or something as this sounds, I would put Curly Howard in a class of physical comedians that, because I didn't watch the silent film comedians, it would include Art Carney and Tim Conway. And I came to that realization because I got into a LinkedIn thread with somebody who was not a Stooges fan. And I wasn't trying to sell her anything, but I put in the thread a clip that's only the swearing in scene from Disorder in the Court. And I said, if you want to understand that Curly Howard was a genius, watch this with the sound off.
Oh, wow.
And it's just as hilarious.
Wow.
All of his gestures and his facial expressions are just incredible. So I guess I don't know why I bring that up other than to say somehow that's all part of the same evolution. And I think I'd understand it better if I had watched the silent film comedians.
Well, I'm glad to hear. I'm always glad to talk Stooge with you.
Hey, don't look at me when you say that.
And by the way, I don't know if you knew this. There was a biography of Shemp that just came out a couple of months ago. I was over in a library, I think it was in East Hartford, visiting the new bookshelf, and all of a sudden there was Shemp staring at me.
Wow.
I couldn't believe it. I took the book home. I didn't think the book was particularly well written. But just the fact that there is finally a book out about Shemp, and part of it was trying to have people sort of reevaluate Shemp. And I'm guilty of probably not giving him enough credit. But to get back to Curly, I agree with everything you say about Curly, and you should see some of the silent movie clowns, call them. And it should really be Chaplin, Buster Keaton, maybe Harold Lloyd. But the films have to be carefully chosen. I could help you do that if you want.
I was going to ask you if you knew a guy.
I remember when I was in film school, my roommate and I We must have read it in the Village Voice in some small screening room somewhere in the village. They were showing about 12 Charlie Chaplin shorts. Now, this is before digital. This is before you could find any of this stuff. I mean, where did you find this stuff? So we went to it. And it was quite extraordinary. At a different time, maybe a couple of months later, in this same little screening room somewhere, I think it was on Broadway somewhere, around 9th or 10th Street, they were showing 8 or 9 Three Stooges shorts.
Wow.
On the big screen. So we went there, and that was an extraordinary evening. And I went to a Stooges event when I lived in LA that, believe it or not, was actually at the Motion Picture Academy building in their auditorium. And it was a mob scene. And they had food. And they showed, I don't know, 6 or 7 Three Stooges shorts on this enormous screen. And there I was, sitting in a crowd of people who had turned out for the same reason.
Wow.
And it was a strange and beautiful night. And I remember my girlfriend and I, we had just picked up her cousin, who I think just came in from Israel. She might have been in the Israeli, I don't know. They hadn't seen each other for a while. She gets in the car and we said, this is what we're doing tonight. We're going to a Three Stooges thing at the Motion Picture Academy. And there was food. The only thing they didn't have that night was an actual food fight, which would have been amazing because they had all this stuff there. And I remember there was like a trough there, and I'm piling food on, and there's this old guy next to me with the worst and loudest sport jacket that I had ever seen. And he's piling it on. And I look over at him, and it's Rudy Valley, one of the richest men in Hollywood. And so I struck up a conversation. He had been in a early feature film in the 1930s where the Stooges had a very brief appearance. A very brief appearance. I think he just turned out for the food. He lived in the castle up in the hills, and here he is in that coat that he was wearing. And he's from Maine. So he and I basically were talking about Maine, and he died about a year later.
Oh.
And but to see Rudy Valley at a Three Stooges event, filling his face just like I was, I don't know. Those moments don't come back.
No, they don't, but they're precious. And so I'm thinking maybe at some point we could, at the risk of boring people absolutely to death, we might just do a whole show on the Three Stooges. But before we have to get to the end of this one, I want to tie it back to storytelling, and I want to tie it back to the journey of the storyteller. And I want to bring it back to 2 particular pieces of your work. So on the Dream Vision 7 website, I put this, but in case anybody didn't notice it, you are the writer, researcher, and co-director of a documentary film about the medical doctor and psychotherapist, I think, Wilhelm Reich. Your interest was spawned by the work you did at the Wilhelm Reich Museum in Rangeley, Maine. So if you wouldn't mind, just please say a few words about that film and what compelled you to do it.
Well, that was a subject that I discovered at the age of 18 on a camping trip to Rangeley, Maine. It was just one of those, I don't know how these things happen. I mean, I guess it wasn't unlike me buying this book that talked about movies at that Book Nook bookstore. Just something sparked my interest there. And when I discovered Reich at the age of 18, that just became one of many things that I was interested in my life. And I made the documentary. Because I couldn't get interest. I couldn't find anyone interested. I didn't have the connections really at that time. I couldn't get anyone interested in the screenplay I had written about him. I'd written a screenplay about him, and there had been so much distortion about Reich and movies about him. There were out and out distortions. And I remember telling one of my brothers many years ago, I said, I would like to make a factually accurate documentary about this man. He deserves it. He deserves it. And so it wasn't the screenplay, but it was a documentary. And I later got involved as one of the directors of his estate, his trust, the museum, which was his former home and laboratory. It's just one of those things. You get interested in something, and but that was a lifelong interest for decades.
So I'm sorry, Kevin. I'm very afraid we're going to run out of time. So I want to make sure that I let people know that if they go on imdb.com, the Internet Movie Database, and look for Love, Work, and Knowledge, that is your film, your documentary film about Wilhelm Reich. And I don't want to let this program end without mentioning the fact that you are working on, I'm just going to say it, a brilliant screenplay about stage play is what I meant to say, about Ulysses S. Grant, and particularly around the period in which he was writing his memoirs. And I know that I am profoundly committed to seeing that on a stage at some point.
Thank you. And it was a similar impulse to the Reich one. I just wanted to do something that was factually accurate about this man, because he had, been much aligned. He's been not so much anymore. And so I not involved in film anymore for a number of reasons, but and I've never written a play before, but I just wanted to I felt Grant deserved some factual representation of his work. It's been done in books and everything, but this was just a fascinating period of his life. I don't know, Mark, you know how it is with you too. You get interested in these things, and you're like a dog with a bone. You just can't let these things go.
No, and I'm sorry, we do have to wrap, but I'm just going to say, I don't think you need a reason why. I think the fact that you're compelled to do it is reason enough. So I'm sorry, we're going to have to end it right here. Kevin, I can't even tell you how grateful I am. I'm absolutely determined to have your back. Thank you. For everyone who was good enough to join us today, thank you for doing so. See you later.
Thank you.
Thank you for tuning into The Anxious Voyage, the program dedicated to sharing stories, helping people, and celebrating life. You can see and listen to The Anxious Voyage on syndicated Dream Vision 7 radio network every Monday at 1 a.m. and 1 p.m. Eastern Time, with live broadcast every first and third Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern. If you have a story to tell, or if you know someone who does, please email the host, Mark O'Brien, at mark@o'briencg.com. In the meantime, please remember, the only bad stories are the ones we don't share.
This is Dream Vision 7 Radio Network, uniting mankind with universal love. Our shows are created from the heart, bringing each listener to a place of divine enlightenment. Breathe, relax, and enjoy. Let life flow.